What's up, y'all? Bobby Lucas, Built For It TV, Sanity over Vanity, the podcast. I'm just gonna start the podcast right here in the crib because it's just something I've been wanting to do. So fuck it. Why? The circumstances are never gonna be perfect, so I'm just gonna do it. Here we are, episode 1. Pretty much what I want to get into, a little bit about myself and my fitness journey, where it began, what fitness has done for me. But this podcast is gonna be a health-based podcast, but not just like some gym bro fitness shit. We're gonna delve into like real shit, mental health, along with the physical and the emotional health, and just like the toll life takes on you and how to deal with it. And if I could just help one person from this, like that's enough. All the haters and the goofy comments, the clown comments, that's gonna all be fine. If I could just help the one person, that's all good. So pretty much, I'd have to say my fitness journey began looking at like wrestlers, the 90s wrestlers. Bret the Hitman Hart, Shawn Michaels, Lex Luger especially. And granted, I know all those guys was on steroids and all that stuff, but they look like straight up fucking superheroes, real life superheroes. But that's another thing too that kind of sparked my interest in getting my body to look a certain way. People like, Cyclops, Wolverine, like Superman, Batman, they was all jacked and they all can handle themselves. And I feel like just having that appearance and strength came along with being able to protect yourself and your family and all that. So I would definitely say those are my initial inspirations for fitness. Not even fitness people. Years later, as I looked more into the industry, of course, Jay Cutler, Ronnie Coleman, GOATs, Mr. Olympia GOATs, seeing them guys in magazines. I'd have to say from right now, like Mike Rashid, Johnny Shreve, amongst others, Pure Bullfit. It is so many people on YouTube now that I look for inspiration, guidance, and education, which is gonna be pretty much what I'm trying to do for people: inspire, motivate, educate, and inform them to the best of my ability. I don't know everything. I don't have no fucking PhDs, nothing like that. I have life experience. So yeah. So I started working out. It was before ever getting locked up or anything like that. I would have to say initially athletics, baseball, basketball. I played basketball down at the park, man. We wrestled each other football for hours, man. Religio, like just for hours. And it's just like I never felt so alive as when I was a kid at the park doing that physical stuff. And then I got to an age where I started smoking weed and stuff like that. And my interest changed. My interest changed from like stuff like that to smoking weed, getting high, which the whole reason, that I like that so much. Life was fucked up and that numbed it and that masked a lot and hit a lot. I'm not gonna get too deep into that. What else at that age? Getting money. I grew up on welfare and stuff like that, so it was like I never had Jordans. I was lucky I had a pair of Nikes or something for school and 2-3 outfits. But like at school, maybe want to wear nice clothes. Not even for me, try to impress other people, impress the little girls with my little friends, stupid shallow stuff, but that's how kids think at the time, at that age. So I kind of fell back from what kind of made me and got caught up in the wrong stuff. I played high school hockey, but even then, like, I wasn't super into the weights as I should have been or could have been. I worked out when we had gym class. It was cool. I didn't really know what I was doing. I just knew to do something. I would work out at my house, man. I'm bringing it back. I'm talking about Harlem World and the DMX. It's hell and hot. Whatever, it's dark and hell is hot. My first 2 CDs, aging myself a little bit here. But I would work out to those. I literally had like a curl bar and I would just do push-ups and that little standing mirror. And I loved that, but that was before the weed and all that stuff. So once the weed came, I kind of slacked with all of that. And then juvenile detention centers. I want to run around like a little fucking juvenile delinquent. They're gonna treat you like one. So I would get locked up And out of boredom, yeah, but it was more because I felt like if I just did some push-ups and worked out with what I can, be stronger, that's gonna help me defend myself in case I have to. I was a little older when I started going into juvenile, 16. I was never really tested like that. A lot of the fights in there, a lot of like Boston beefs, block to block, all that stuff. I didn't really get no fights in juvie. I kind of went in there. It was only like 2 weeks here, 2 weeks there, until eventually I did like 4 or 5 months, and then I aged out at 18. So I was already one of the older kids. So just like being in shape and the threat of violence probably took me a long way to not really getting in fights. And I'm not that type of person to really cause fights and be arrogant, staring at people. It was really none of that. But just being ready. If you stay ready, you ain't gotta get ready. And boredom too. But when I did make it to the first DYS I went to was on Harvard Street. And that shit for weights, if you made the level room, they had like the small machine weights and a pull-up bar, which was probably the best thing fucking in there, the pull-up bar. But like I said, those were small stays. It wasn't until I went to Rosendale in man, I don't even 02, no 03, something like that, whatever, where we started. We had the weights in the basement. Even then, I still was like doing like benching every day. I didn't know like how to work out the correct way and how to rest or eat. We were kids, so we went in there with the idea we just gonna lift as much as we can and eat as much as we can and see where and let the chips fall where they may. And that worked out different for everybody. Some people could do that, be ripped. I came out a little on the chunky side, but I was stronger and a little bit more jacked. But it didn't take long for me to fall off once I got out from working out. Got me back into it, couple county bids, and then we had machine weights. They took the free weights out of county in Massachusetts a long time before I started bidding. And we had machine weights that we would use and pull-up bars, dip bars, and stuff like that. And that was one of those things where it's like, I knew not to gamble, because that's a way to get into fights. I didn't really gamble, play cards for that matter at all. We didn't even have TVs in the day room at the place I was at the time. So I worked out, whether it was weight training, push-ups, or even just playing sports, basketball, handball, and whatnot. And it's just like, even some of those times playing basketball on the court, that's all I was thinking about. It was like I wasn't even locked up. You know what I mean? Like, you couldn't even think about it that much because you're thinking about the dribble, the defense. You know what I mean? It felt like I was free. Like, the freest I ever been locked up was probably playing basketball, more so than even like lifting weights and stuff like that. So that really got me back into it. And of course, you start to see the results. You look good, you feel good. And at that time, I was still young, and I had dealt with a lot of emotional and mental issues probably my whole life. Just growing up in the system where being on Section 8 and welfare. I didn't meet my dad till I was like 10. I think I visited him when I was younger. He was in prison till I was like 10. Single mom, and then she had her own demons. I'm not gonna get into all of that right now because this is the intro episode, but I would lash out at school a lot. I tended to bottle stuff up a lot as a kid. Working out, it became that outlet for me to let that anger out in a healthy way, because I would let it out in such unhealthy ways, especially if like alcohol was involved and stuff like that. Very unhealthy living. And so yeah, I would work out and count, and I would get into good shape, you know what I mean? And people would kind of ask me things like, yo, what do you do for it? And a lot of it was just, so I started knowing a little bit more about how to work out from a few different sources. The dudes in there, the older dudes, the OGs that been working out forever, kind of follow their thing, their split. A lot of it was the bro split at the time, where you just kind of work out one muscle group per day, but you only hit it once a week. Now it's more the push-pull, legs routine, upper, lower body, and all that's kind of the way to go. You kind of learn to hit more muscle groups as much as you can. You don't need, you need 24 to 48 hours rest in between. Well, more so 48, not 24, because that's just the next day. But you get what I'm getting at. Between that, reading magazines, Men's Health, Men's Fitness, any magazines that would come through, I would try to read it front to back and educate myself, learn how to work out, and then try to give that information to other people. Maybe they just couldn't their reading comprehension skills wasn't as good as mine. Not that mine's the greatest. I gotta reread things. I'm literally studying now, and I feel like my notes, it's just me rewriting the whole fucking book in my words. But yeah, so I would educate myself. So I started to know a little bit more, but still when I got out, I never really stuck with it because I was still young at the time, 21, 22, doing county bids. Parole was a fucking joke. To me, it was a furlough. Like, yeah, I'll be back in a month. I'm just gonna have my little bit of fun. I'll come back to wrap my time up. All that bullshit. Very young-minded. I had no guidance besides the people in the streets, so I was just in the streets. You know what I mean? I didn't have my first job, really, until I was 26 fucking years old, out of state prison and all that. I just hit the block. Like, I didn't grow up in a household where dad was at work, mom worked. Like, no, mom was a single mom. She did the best she fucking could. She didn't work. She didn't really push all that working shit on me. My grandfather would. But then again, I was at the age where, like, yeah, sure, Gramps. Civil service, yeah, sign up for it. Like, this guy knows nothing. Mind you, there's so many days where I look back, like, damn, if I'd have just listened to my grandfather, where would I be? But I didn't. I learned. You live off experience, learn from experience. LOX, baby. Shout out to Lox. But, yeah, so it wasn't until having to do a significant amount of time in state prison. I did the longest I did. It was 4 years with the good time. It was like 40 months. All said and done. And like I said, I don't gamble. I don't even really play cards like that. You know, working out, basketball, handball was my thing. Softball was kind of not really my thing. It's not enough moving for me for a sport. I don't knock anybody who plays softball, baseball. It's just not really for me. Maybe it's my ADHD. Can't just sit in the field, wait for a ball to come up to me or strike out, and then I gotta wait for the whole lineup to come through to get back at it. Like, I don't know. Never was for me. But working out, oh man, I got to the point where I was doing like 2 a days. I was like addicted to it, and that made me want to eat healthy. And mind you, this whole time I'm still educating myself, reading as much as I could on it about working out. So it took me, you know, eventually I got through that, got out. I stuck with it a little bit, but then I started working full time. I was going to school at nights when I first got out, and it became less and less part of my life. And it took about 5-6 years for me to slip back into old habits, old mind states. Depression started kicking up with me, suicidal thoughts, all sorts of stuff, just not caring, you know what I mean? And until it kind of spiraled out of control, mixing that with drinking and stuff like that, till it spiraled out of control where I caught a case for a fight that could have went very, very bad. I could have ended up doing life or being dead because I got a gun pulled out on me. I hardly recollect the night, but from the police report, it said I had dude over the banister on the 5th floor. Like, it doesn't take much for you to be gone for the rest of your life. You're sitting in a cell. I already have a little brother, been down for 13 years, sitting in a cell. Might never get out. That's a whole nother story too. But like I'm telling you, like, these things in life is fucked up. You need an outlet. So I had to take a strong look at myself when I went back in 2018. I wrapped up the state bid 2011. Like I said, boom, work, school, things started to spiral out of control. The more and more that I got out of shape, I gained a lot of weight, got up to 245, and that was a big part of it. So it took me sitting in 2018. They held me for 90 days. Because of just the past violence on my record. They didn't even give me a bail until I got a bail, and I only bailed out 2 house arrests. But then again, I'm still fighting the case, so I could be going back. So I worked out that whole time too on house arrest, and it really took me looking at, like, what got me through the hottest part of my